Well, good afternoon, everyone. In about a week, Americans will be filing their taxes for the last time under the tax code that we completely revised last November. Next year, they'll have a much more growth-oriented tax bill. Refunds will be more obvious, although they're already seeing the take-home pay going up and new jobs being created, bonuses, voluntary decisions to raise the minimum wage. We continue to see the benefits of last year's tax reform. Here in the Senate, we're working on personnel this week. As all of you know, we've been subjected to an extraordinary level of obstruction over relatively non-controversial nominees. For example, we just confirmed a district judge in my state that only one person opposed, and yet it took 2 days to do something that obviously could have been done on a voice vote. Hopefully we can break some of that logjam this week. We're going to stay here until we finish those that are in the queue and be working on similar nominations next week.
As the President's nominated two new important nominees from the national security and diplomacy perspective. Mike Pompeo, previously confirmed as Director of the Central Intelligence Agency on a bipartisan vote, and Gina Haspel, who will succeed Director Pompeo as head of the CIA. I've already seen some partisans leak sort of a caricature of her background as a CIA intelligence officer over the last 30 years. She's served in some of the most dangerous and difficult areas in the world, and like so many people, done so without acknowledging her role as an intelligence officer. And it makes it difficult to talk about the really important things that people like her have done to keep the country safe. But we're not going to allow our Democratic colleagues to filibuster the first female director of the CIA and the first operations person with an operations background as opposed to an analyst in the last 40 years. She is an extremely well-qualified nominee for this important post, and we believe a message needs to be sent that people who work hard, who are keeping the country safe, need to be rewarded with these additional responsibilities that go along with this important office as Director of the CIA, and intend to see her confirmed.
Tax reform has been, and tax relief has been very beneficial for families across the country, also for hiring. You saw the numbers that since tax reform has passed, over 600,000 new jobs have been created. We see that wages are up as well. And with the doubling of the standard deduction, we're going to see many more people having it a lot easier to file their taxes next year than this year, which is still under the old broken system. Having traveled the state of Wyoming, visiting with families, visiting with businesses, we see benefits abound. We have families who are saying, hey, I have more money to decide what to save or to spend or to invest. Others in businesses saying, hey, we have additional money and we're hiring more people, investing in our community right here, which was the whole idea of tax relief for individuals, but also to help in benefit within communities. On a second matter, on Thursday, we'll be holding hearings in the Foreign Relations Committee, on which I serve, on the nomination of Mike Pompeo to be Secretary of State. I believe he is eminently qualified, and the American people will see that as a result of the hearings. I've traveled with him to international defense and security conferences. He knows the issues. He knows that our adversaries are aggressive, opportunistic. He knows the lay of the land across the world in terms of what's happening with Russia, Iran, Syria, North Korea, China, and I think he is absolutely the right person for the job. President Trump, I think, has appointed him because of his commitment for America to be first, economically, politically, as well as militarily, So I'm hoping that the Democrats don't try to slow down this process. We need a Secretary of State on the job, in place, and Mike Pompeo is the one to do it.
The past couple of weeks, I had the opportunity to travel across Colorado, hold a number of meetings and roundtables with constituents from corner to corner in that great state. Did a couple of roundtables, one in southern Colorado, a little town called Alamosa. In Alamosa, Colorado, we learned that 90% of the people in jail in Alamosa are addicted to prescription drugs or narcotics. At a Swedish hospital roundtable in Denver, I learned that 1 out of 10 people who enter the emergency room there, who were revived by naloxone or Narcan, some other kind of drug to revive somebody who had an opioid overdose, 1 out of 10 will be dead within a year if they entered that emergency room. And most alarming was a conversation I had with providers in southern Colorado who said that they're working with Medicaid to make sure that they can provide reimbursement for the nasal spray, Narcan, because it's easier for children to apply it to their parents when they overdose. This Congress has had great bipartisan successes when it comes to the 21st Century Cures Act, the Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Act, to help address the opioid crisis. But more has to be done.
Donald?
Yeah.
We've been hearing these rattlings from the House side about a rescissions bill, trying to take back some of the money from the omnibus here. A, could you see a path where that could move through the Senate? And B, do you feel that if that was the case, that Republicans would be reneging on the February and the March agreements that were cut with the Democrats to move those bills?
Well, it's no secret that the omnibus bill was larger than most Republicans would like. But it was a bipartisan negotiation. The number we were fixated on was the defense number. We got what we wanted. The Democrats had their demands, and it was a bipartisan agreement. Having said that, I'm willing to discuss with the administration the possibility of some kind of rescissions package. I think it's worth a discussion. Whether that's achievable is another matter, but certainly worth discussing.
You're worried about
you resisted the idea of doing any legislation to protect the special counsel. You heard the president last night keeping open the option very clearly, possibly firing the special counsel. Are you concerned that the Senate is not doing its job to prevent this possible outcome?
Well, it's still my view that Mueller should be allowed to finish his job. I think that's the view of most people in Congress. I haven't seen clear indication yet that we needed to pass something to keep him from being removed, because I don't think that's going to happen. And that remains my view, that I don't think he's going to be removed from this office. He shouldn't be removed from the office. He should be allowed to finish the job.
What gives you that confidence, sir?
I'm not going to answer the hypothetical, because I don't think he's going to be removed. I think he'll be allowed to finish his job.
Have you received assurances since the president's remarks last night?
It's still my view that he'll be allowed to keep him to finish the job.
What would you do if you
I'm not going to answer a hypothetical. I am telling you I think he'll be allowed to finish the job. He should be allowed to finish the job he was appointed to do.
Senator McConnell?
Yeah.
To follow up on Chad's question, the House plans to pass a balanced budget amendment this week. Would you like to see the Senate take up a balanced budget amendment?
Yeah, I think that's something we ought to consider doing. Most of my members think a balanced budget amendment would bring the kind of discipline that has been missing under administrations of both parties, and that's the kind of vote we're likely to see at some point. Yeah.
Are you comfortable with the president taking action against Syria without a vote from Congress? Do you feel he still has the authority under 2001?
Well, I think everyone knows that we do have some American forces inside of Syria. I think my own view is they're carrying out an important function and should stay there for the reason they were put there in the first place, which is to prevent ISIL from reestablishing in the eastern part of Syria.
Thanks again.